He has traveled across 86 countries and circumnavigated the globe 3 times and spent 11 incredible years in cruise industry. They wanted to shift to a cruise industry. So what would be the job role that might get for someone who is dreaming for a cruise industry? So what would be the life of a person in cruise? What quality or skills required if an youngster is looking to work in a cruise industry? How do you define world-class services? It's growing from 100 to 20,000, which is a huge difference.
Success mantra for me is
The biggest mistake that you've watched in entrepreneurs, especially in networking and maintaining a professional relationship.
your network is called as your net worth, and majority of the successful people, they've done this way and to be successful in their life.
Unforgettable moment in your journey.
The fastest he possibly can and to get me to the port or the harbor.
Great.
So more than 1,000 guests, looking at me and waving at me to come back quick.
The one myth on cruise jobs that people should start believing in. If you're someone who dreams of exploring different countries while building your career, or if you love the idea of sailing across oceans, meeting people from around the world, and experiencing life behind boundaries, then this podcast is absolutely for you. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Sudhakar Garu. He started his journey with a degree in hotel management, worked in some of the most luxurious hotels in the world, and spent 11 incredible years in cruise industry with Conal Line. He has traveled across 86 countries and circumnavigated the globe 3 times, a journey that most of the people dream of. But what's even more inspiring is, after all this global exposure, he chose to come back to India and build a successful business from scratch. Let's dive into his journey, his experiences, and the lessons that can completely change the way you look at your career and life. And if you love real time successes, stories, and meaningful conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hi, sir. Thank you so much for coming to our show.
Pleasure, madam.
Thank you. Sir, in 1995, choosing an hotel management is not common. So, how did you choose? What inspired you to take hotel management?
Well, after completing my schooling, normally in those days, as you probably know, students either will go for medicine or engineering. So that was the most famous, popular choice in those days. But I wasn't too interested in either of that. So I was exploring different options. And we had a neighbor who actually lived in Coimbatore, and one of the major cities in Tamil Nadu. And he used to work for a catering college as an assistant professor.
Okay.
So I had an opportunity to meet him and interact with him, and he gave the inspiration about hotel management, and I decided right away, well, that is what I'm going to do. So and that is how my journey through hotel management started.
Great. Thank you, sir. Sir, you worked for one of the most luxurious hotels in the world, Burj Al Arab. So, how did you get this opportunity?
Well, when I did my college in Coimbatore, that's hotel management, and we have out of 3 years course, 6 months we have to do internship in any of the hotels. So luckily, I got through in Sheraton Group of Hotels, did my training there, and once I completed, I got a placement in Chola Sheraton in Chennai. So while working there in Chola Sheraton to begin with, then I moved to Park Sheraton Hotel and Towers.
Oh, great.
So there we had an opportunity. So normally there's a recruitment drive was going on, and this hotel Burj Al Arab was a brand new hotel which opened in 2000, exactly in Millennium.
Okay.
So the recruiters came over there, and in fact they stayed in hotel in Park Sheraton where I worked.
Okay.
So then I had an opportunity to meet them there, and they asked if I was interested in working for Burj Al Arab, and I said yes. So we went through the hotel, the recruitment process, attended the interview, and got through there.
And what inspired you to shift from hotel management to the cruise industry, which is different? Right. So, yes, sir.
That's a very interesting story. I mean, when I moved to Dubai, so worked there for 2 years, and I've always had the dream of actually traveling to different countries. Okay. So was waiting for an opportunity to travel, and that's when I came to know about this cruise industry, where those people who work in the hotels or who have the background of catering industry, they have a very good opportunity to work for cruise lines as well. And it was a right time after the millennium, 2000. We had the British cruising company who came over to Dubai, and
Okay.
they had a recruitment drive there.
Oh,
So when I
great.
came to know that through newspapers, then I applied for it and went through the process of interview and got selected through it.
Oh, great. Then universe has given you an opportunity to shift yourself to cruise.
Exactly, the exact opportunity that I was looking for. I got it, served on a silver platter.
Great. Sir, you've traveled to 86 countries and you have gone around the world for 3 times. So how did that change? Your perspective for life has changed, with this experience.
Well, actually, traveling to different countries and getting to know the culture of different people was something a very good experience. In fact, when we work in a cruise ship, every cruise ship will have at least 20 to 25 different nationalities crew working in there. So working with them, we came to we learned a lot about their culture, the way of their lives and everything. And one thing is very simple: when you be humble and be yourself, and you will automatically earn respect.
Oh,
And
great.
we have to actually establish ourselves through the skills that we have. So no
Great.
matter where you go, and when you're good at what you do, definitely the respect is going to follow, and you're going to climb up the ladder irrespective of whichever organization you work for.
True, sir. True, sir. Sir, for the students who is watching this and who have completed the bachelor's in hotel management, they wanted to know if they wanted to shift to a cruise industry. So, what would be the job role that might get, and what is that you would like to tell them?
Well, for those who would like to actually get a job in cruise industry, it's like as soon as they finish their education, which is a 3 years diploma or a 3 years degree, the possibility of getting into cruise line directly is very minimal. So normally when people recruit them for a cruise industry, they look for at least 3 to 4 years of experience in a reputed hotel, or a chain of hotels, or a very a popular brand of restaurants. So for someone who wanted to get into the cruise industry, so I recommend them to get into a hotel, a chain of hotels or a group of restaurants, a popular one. Work there at least 2 to 3 years, gain the experience. You have to be the best in what you do.
True.
Once you're done with that, then you can apply for into the cruise industry. And looking at the experience, definitely the possibility of getting into cruise is very, very high.
Great. So, what would be the job role, if possible, if you can explain in brief?
Well, it depends on which line of job that you choose. When we say catering, it is a very generic term. So you've got different departments to it, starting from galley or kitchen, we call it as, where you work as a chef. And if you choose to be into restaurant, then you would go either as a waiter or as a bar waiter.
Okay.
Or if you want to go into the front office operations, then we on the ship call it as purser's desk. So purser's desk assistant, this is the job role or the title that you will be beginning with. So especially in the hotel industry, when you finish your hotel management degree and then you get into any hotel, you normally will be placed as a hotel management trainees, or HMOT they call it as, which is hotel management operation trainees. So that is like a mid management level or a supervisor category.
Oh,
But on a cruise industry, it's very unlikely that you're going to get into supervisor category directly.
okay.
So they always will have to go through different steps, starting as a waiter in case if you're in a restaurant, or we call it as commie 3 when you're in a galley in the kitchen. So it's basically the starting level as a chef. Then you grow up your ladder like commie 2, commie 1, and then they call it a sous chef, and then executive chef. So similarly in the restaurant you will have assistant waiter, and then the restaurant supervisor. Then you got the maitre d', then the restaurant manager. So there are different levels of positions that you go through.
Here are the top universities for masters in cruise industry. Take a screenshot. Florida International University FIU, located in Miami, USA, the cruise capital of the world. FIU offers one of the most direct pathways into the industry. University of Plymouth. The UK has a deep maritime history, and Plymouth is at the forefront of combining that with the modern tourism. Lees Roche's Global Hospitality ranks among the top 5 hospitality schools globally and offers luxury focused approach. NYU offers an immersive high level schools approach in the industry. Hochschule University, If you are interested in the more technical and logistic side of the industry, this is the top European choice. So, for someone who is dreaming for a cruise industry, so what would be the life of a person in cruise and what is behind? Yes,
Well, that's an interesting question. Actually, people think when you say that you're working in a cruise industry, all they see is the positive side of it.
true.
Like you get to travel to different countries. Yes, that's definitely true.
That's
You
what the
wake up
introduction I've given, just the introduction I've given, all the
exactly.
positive aspects.
So you wake up in a different country every day.
Yes,
You once you have dinner in New York, and the next day morning you wake up in Boston having a breakfast there. So that's the good part of it. But when you come to the other side, the life is very hard, very difficult. You have to put in a lot of work. Physically, it is very demanding, because once you get into the job, if you are in a 4 months or 6 months contract, depending on which position you will not have a single day off. So if you're on a 6 months contract, from day one until the 180th day, you'll be working. And every day is about 14 to 15 hours of work. So there's a lot of physically it's very enduring and very demanding. So apart from that, crew do have a very good social life. As I said, there are multiple nationalities working there, and you have crew entertainments like movie nights, spa nights, and apart from that, we do get offs in the afternoon. Say, for example, the ship reaches a port. In the afternoon, you might get 3 to 4 hours of break. So that is the time when you get to go out, and explore the different places.
oh,
So it is
great.
very demanding, yes.
Great. And I think one of the biggest challenges is staying away from the family for a very period of time. So may I know how did your family support you in this? Because maybe 6 months you'll be away from your family. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I was in a managerial position. So at the beginning, when I started, it was a 6 months contract. But then, as you grew up, the later, and so the contract shortens to 4 months. So I used to be on board for 4 months and 2 months at home. 4 months was not a too long of a period, I should say. But yes, when you leave home, the first week or 10 days is really hard. But then you always keep connected with, we have this internet, video calling, and we have the satellite phone on board. So you
Oh,
get to call home
okay.
anytime you want. So
Great.
you are in touch with the family all the time whenever you need. But yes, when there is an emergency, for you coming home could actually take a day or two, depending on which place on the earth you are.
Exactly.
Otherwise, everything is fine.
Great.
But mentally, you have to be strong.
True. I think your family also should be supporting you in all the aspects.
Definitely. Otherwise, I won't be able to spend 11 long years on board. You see.
True. Yes, sir. Sir, what quality or skills required if an youngster is looking to work in a cruise industry?
Um, See, after completing their college of catering and hotel management, then they have to first get an experience from a very good hotel or a restaurant chain, and they have to be very agile. So physically, they should be very fit enough to work, first of all, and secondly, they should have a very good communication skill. So especially if they want to work in the front of the house departments like food and beverage, or in the front office operations, or in the accommodation services, they definitely have to have a very good communication skill, and obviously good at what they do.
Sir, after experiencing global services around, so how do you define world class services means?
To me, world class service is exceeding the guest expectations
Okay.
and anticipating their needs and providing them even before they could ask for. That is what I define as a quality service. So when you walk into a place, and even before you could ask for, the service people, those who are the service industry, have to anticipate and then serve even before they could ask for. I would say this is the quality service.
So there are many students who dream in working in cruise industry, and you were living that dream. So uh, what is the point you shifted to Veluru in 2014, and then what inspired you to start your own business?
Right after working for 11 long years in the cruise industry, that was a very long time, in fact, and quitting a very lucrative job and a job which is a dream job for many people who wanted
Yes.
to travel the world. It was certainly a very hard decision, but nevertheless, I had to stop it at some point of time because it was quite a long time. And at that point of time, my parents' health was also not very promising, so I had to stay back to cater their needs. So that's the time I decided, okay, it's time to quit the cruise industry and do something else. So in 2013, I quit the ship and I was exploring different opportunities. And we had a business of our own. My father has been in the business for for the past 50 years actually. So apart from that, I wanted to establish something for my own. So that's when I was looking into the different opportunities, and I always had a passion for cars. So I decided to turn my passion into profession, and that's when I was exploring the different opportunities. I did some market study in Vellore and found out that there was no proper car detailing studio in Vellore at that point of time. Well, right now we have many, but at that point of time, there was not even a single studio, and there was a very big vacuum for a quality car detailing, and that's when I decided to go with the car detailing in Vellore.
Sir, what is that one golden rule or seven-star service that you brought into your business?
Well, it was easy for me because coming back from the hotel industry to a business, I always had that hospitality thing in my mind. So there was a lot of plus and minus as well on that. So I used to go extra mile to please my customers, my guests. So one mantra I would say for success in business is the customer service. Try and give the best possible customer service from the moment they walk into your store until they leave the store. There should be a positive experience, and that will actually ensure the customers to coming back to you. So that has been my success story or success mantra in business.
So, how did you convince that first 100 customers, not just washing your cars and then decorating a bit, and you have something more to do with your car? How did you convince that 100 customers, the first 100 customers, since you are new to the market
Yes.
and you are the one, only the one who had this type of business at that point of time? So, how did you convince your customers, sir?
Well, it was certainly a difficult task actually to begin with because at that point of time, when you talk about car detailing, not many people knew about it.
True.
So all they know is car wash. So if I had a big studio where I was charging almost twice as a normal place, so it was very hard for me to convince them as to why they have to pay twice to get a service done from my side, from my studio. But then I started explaining them what is that we provide comparing to the other normal studios or normal stores. So we had different chemicals for different parts of the car, and those process was entirely different from what others do. So when I started explaining them, they see it through their eyes and they realized, okay, yes, definitely there is something better than what others are doing, and that was the turning point. But as you said, definitely yes, the first few months was very hard for customers to understand why I'm charging the extra bucks.
Growing from 100 to 20,000, which is a huge difference. So, how did you do that?
Well, as I said, the basic success mantra for me is customer service. These days, the customer, when they walk into your store, they already know what they want. Because as you know that the complete information is available on
Exactly.
their mobile phone. They can do all this research they want. So before they walk in, they exactly know what they want. The only challenge is why they have to get the service done from me and not from my competitor. So that is where I focus. So I always focus on the process that I do and the systems that I have in place and the way I communicate with my customers. I instill confidence in them and a trust in them. So majority of my customers are regular customers. Out of if I have 100 customers, I would say 70 to 80 of them are regular customers,
Oh.
and they have brought more customers to my place. So that is the success of growing from 100 to 20,000.
Great, great, sir. So, what is the biggest mistake that you've watched in entrepreneurs, especially in networking and maintaining a professional relationship?
In these days, I see a lot of young entrepreneurs who are being very introvert. They don't want to actually go out and establish themselves. But I would say you have to be where your customers are. See, if your customers are in social media, your presence have to be there. Or if your customers are part of any network or any social clubs, you have to be there, because In these days, your network is called as your net worth. The more network you build, your net worth is going to introduce or it's going to increase. And that will happen only by building relationship. So you have to be where your customers are and start building the relationships, because a relationship once built, it will actually create an ecosystem around you, and anything that those customers want, they will always look for you. You will be the one touch point for them to get the job done. So it is easy to convince your customers in that perspective.
Great. So one small query here. I think time management plays a very vital role in any business or when a person starts, his or own business. So what do you talk about time management, that too for the youngsters? So how do you think it is possible, especially if I'm talking about a girl like I have my own family, I have my kids. Managing time is the biggest problem that I have, though I do multitasking and all. So, what suggestion would you like to give a girls like me who is into this field?
Well, it's hard for me to actually give suggestion to women, because as you mentioned that you are a multi-tasking person. Generally, men are not multitaskers compared to women, actually. But when you talk about time management, in all my trainings as well, when people do ask this question, I always say that, what is that one common thing we all human beings have, no matter even if it is Ambani or
Time.
Mr. Narendra Modi or US president or me or you, in that matter, is 24 hours in a day.
True.
If those people can manage their time, can't do it. So what I suggest is, prioritize your day. Have a calendar for every single day. Work with a plan. So prioritize your tasks. Something which requires urgent attention have to be attended right away. True. Something which doesn't need immediate attention, but it is important, and if it can wait, you can actually postpone it. And something which is not very useful, you can actually completely avoid it. So by actually preparing a calendar for yourself on day-to-day basis, you can very effectively manage the time without doubt. And majority of the successful people, they've done this way, and to be successful in their life.
True, sir. But even sir, what was the most unforgettable moment in your journey of these 86 countries?
That's a very interesting question. That was actually back in 2002 or 2003. I'm not sure about the year, but I came home for an emergency. So that was a very short trip, and for like 2 weeks. And I was going back to join the ship. So the ship was in Lisbon, Portugal. So my flight was from Chennai to Mumbai, Mumbai to Zurich, and Zurich to Lisbon. So when I got to Zurich, the flight which was connecting to Lisbon was delayed.
Okay.
But the challenging part is the ship doesn't wait for anyone. As we say, time and tide waits for none. The ship also doesn't wait for anyone, because it is scheduled to leave at 6 p.m. It will depart at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And if I leave, or if I'm not able to get into the ship, then I'll have to wait for 2 or 3 days and travel to another country to get the ship. So, but finally, I arrived in Lisbon, and I remember the port agent picked me up from the airport, and he was driving, I don't know, in 156 or 200 kilometer speed,
Oh.
the fastest he possibly can, to get me to the port or the harbor. And once I got to the harbor, it was hardly a few minutes left before the ship was departing. And the captain was already prepared to leave, and he did made an announcement that a crew member is about to join. As his flight was delayed, we are waiting for a few more minutes to make him on board. And you could see pretty much more than 1,000 guests waiting at the outer deck to see the ship departing. And they all were waiting at the outer deck, waving at me when I was running from the pier to get into the ship. So that was a very interesting, unforgettable moment, I should say that.
Great.
So more than 1,000 guests, looking at me and waving at me to come back quick, get on board quick. So I was trying to get the luggage on one hand, running towards the ship to get into. That was very interesting.
Okay. So, did you ever feel like quitting because of this heavy schedules and then working and all? Did you ever feel that or tired of something?
Well, that has happened a lot of times, actually. So there are difficult times that you go through, and you say, okay, I want to quit. But then you always have the positive side of it, which is going to different countries, and that is a inspiring part. So mostly it's the physical endurance. So you get very tired after working a long day, and you say, "Oh, I've had enough." But then the very next day, when you have a good night's sleep and wake up, you're fresh to go, and then you forget what has happened yesterday. So the fuel is actually traveling to different countries has been the fuel. But yes, I did have many moments like that where I want to quit. But then it was just momentary. It wasn't too long.
Sir, if you could go back to yourself in 1996 when you were starting your bachelor's in hotel management, what piece of advice would you give to yourself at that point of time with this a long experience, which you felt, maybe I would have had this particular skill at this point of time, which had helped me, gain this. So, what piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Right. I suggest, I mean, when it comes to skill, I wouldn't really give much of an advice because those skills that I have was acquired over this long period of work, actually. But the best suggestion I would like to give to myself is try not to be picky and choosy, right? You have to live the life, and at the same time, as I said, when I moved to the ship at the beginning, it was very hard to accustom myself to the ship's lifestyle and the food. So, because all the days, you were very much accustomed to only eating Indian food, and all of a sudden you've been given choices only with the continental food, which you probably can eat 1 or 2 days and not more than that. So I think if I had been, with open-minded and ready to eat anything, then survival would be very easy. So that's the piece of advice that I would give to myself back in 1996.
So, one myth on cruise jobs that people should start believing it. What is that myth you feel?
Well, normally when you talk about cruise industry, people say like, it's a very jolly life. You get to go to different countries every single day. Well, when you say that is true, but at the same time, there is a hard life for every crew member. So it is like when you work on the cruise ship, it's like working on a stage. So the backstage is very different. So it is like a factory kind of setting. And on the ship, nothing sleeps. No matter what, rain or shine, everything will happen in the time that has been stipulated or said.
Great.
Say, for example, if 5 o'clock dinner is served, no matter what, 5 o'clock the restaurant will open. So imagine the number of people who are working behind the scenes to get that right. And in a cruise ship where there are more than 1,000 crew members and say 2,000 to 3,000 guests, and imagine the turnaround day where you have the entire produce which has to come into the ship and the entire luggage has to go out and a new set of luggages have to come in, and everything should happen in less than 7 to 8 hours. And the scale in which people work is phenomenal. So what you see is the nice part of it, and what you don't see is the hard part, which is the physical job that the crew does.
Great, great. Sir, what suggestion would you give as a trainer at BNI? And you'll be interacting with a lot of entrepreneurs day by day. So, what suggestions would you give to a student who is actually confused at what to do after completing the bachelor's or after completing the master's? Because I interact on a daily basis. We have done our Global EduFest as well. I could see students still in a dilemma on thinking what to choose according to my interest. So, what suggestions would you give to them who is actually looking for an options?
Well, after completing education, I would say definitely they have to gain some kind of experience. So, working in any industry or whichever the line of education they are in. And I see the good thing now is there are a lot of new entrepreneurs, new startups coming up. So, one piece of advice that I would like to give them is to actually, be part of any networking organization.
Okay.
That will actually give you the relationship that you want and the connect that you want. As I said, your network is your net worth. So the more network you build, the better net worth you will have. So you will be actually weighed by the net worth. So to be being part of any network organization is definitely going to help them. And of course, when you have a networking organization, then you have different members there who come from different walk of life with a lot of experience behind their personality. So it will always be a learning curve for the students actually.
So you ask them to interact with the people and get to know about yourself.
Definitely.
So in this AI generation, if you can see from COVID time till now, the online presence have changed a lot. So I think for your business also, you have your online presence as well.
Definitely, yes.
So what suggestion would you give to the youngsters? Already they are into online now. Because in our times maybe we have limited options. We would have actually talked to someone who are in this field as you have done. These youngsters, they have multiple options in front of them. That's the main problem, that they are more confused at.
Right.
So what would you give a small suggestion in this networking system on how to build or what to trust on?
See, when it comes to social media, as you just said, I mean, the presence of social media is very, very high these days after COVID. So, in my case as well, my business has got an Insta and Facebook page, and the content that I provide after COVID in the past 3 to 4 years has increased a lot, and I have had a lot of conversions through that content as well.
True, sir.
And as I said earlier, it's you have to be where your customers are. So majority of my customers are in social media, which means that is where I have to be. My presence have to be there. So if you're looking into particular set of customers and find out where they are, if they are spending more time in social media, then you have to have the online presence to convince them or to convert them into your customers. So choose wisely and have a proper content. Employ someone who is an expert in that. Try not to do everything for yourself, so that experts will actually take care of the job after having a proper interview with you as to what your requirements are. So I would always suggest, yes, having an online presence is very, very important, but at the same time you have to be a little cautious. Employ an expert to get the job done.
Great. So, one piece of advice, if you can give this Gen Z people who are completely depending on ChatGPT or completely depending on Gemini, who don't even think on what should I do at present now. If I give some question, it will give us an answer. So, what piece of advice as a trainer would you give to this Gen Z or youngsters on how do they depend on their self rather than depending on, I knew we have all these AI tools who can do the work easy, but what one piece of advice would you give with your experience and going the world across?
Well, as I said, yes, and right now there are multiple tools available on your phone, just a touch away to do everything that you want. That is very alarming.
True.
Because if you, all you know that if you want to multiply 10 into 15 or 25, those days we used to just do a little bit of calculation. After using calculator, even a simplest math, we're not able to do it. We always look for a calculator on the phone.
So for calculating age, if I just given for Gemini, if I just give the date of birth, it will give me the date.
Exactly.
Previously, we used to just see year, 10 years and all. But now it is getting instant. Do you think youngsters should depend on AI or
Definitely
should
not.
have their own thinking done?
They should have their thinking. So basically, when you stop using your brain, it is just going to be wasted.
But instantly they're getting their answers done.
But say, for example, if you're stuck somewhere where you don't have access to your mobile phone or there is no 5G connection available and you're in a situation where you have to answer a question, so what will be your answer for that? It's very, very difficult, right?
Exactly.
So we have to inculcate the habit of learning things. We got to read a lot of books, read a lot of articles, and build your skill, shape yourself. These tools, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever you call it, as those are tools which can help you to give a better result. But you, as shaping you, that is with you. You have to put effort to shape yourself, and you can use these tools to as a accessory to develop your skill, but not as a base.
True. Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Again, I'll see you. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much.
It's my pleasure.